Hello everyone, good morning. Uh, I welcome you all to this today's session. Today we have Ketan Shimpi and Humza Multanwala with us, who have done their masters in user experience design from MIT and are working with leading companies as a lead experience designer. Hamza is with TCS and Ketan is with Infosys. And today they will be talking to us and telling us about the basics of UX design. Ketan, Hamza, should we start with the session?
Yes, we can start. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'll share my screen and then we'll talk about more on introduction to UX design. So, my screen is visible to you, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
we
is
can see
visible.
it.
Yes.
Okay. So, hello, welcome everyone and good morning. So, we'll be talking about UX design on the basic level. So, whether you're UX aspirant or whether you're a designer or from design background, this is useful for everyone to know what is UX design. Uh, and we'll just touch upon some of the points in this, and we'll talk about it more in this upcoming hour or so. And then we can discuss something after the presentation if we have any doubts or if we have any queries regarding any of the topic from UX design. So, so this is we'll start with the quoting and so what experience is the user experience encompasses all the aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its service, and its products. So this is basically by Don Norman, and Don Norman is a person who has termed the word user experience in 90s. And basically, what they did is they marketed the term user experience. So Don Norman also worked in Apple, and in Apple, right now, as we see and as we perceive the product, it is not just the product, and it is not just they sell it as a product. So they sell us the experience, and we pay for that experience. So this is how it started, and it is coined and marketed. So later on, when digital companies started to bringing their products, all company wanted to have that kind of experience where people can not just buy the product, not just purchasing is done, along with that purchasing, experience also can be brought. So this is an ongoing practice and it is everywhere now. If you see Tesla company or any other big giants, which has created that hope in the audience that we are doing something in technology and that they want to sell it to the end consumer. So here we see if it is the user interaction, how you interact with the product, how you interact with the company, how you interact with the services and their products. So when it comes to services, if you check the Zomato, Swiggy, or any other service what you use, for that matter, Urban Clap also, so you can note down the experiences what you do. So this is how it started in the 90s era. The term experience and user experience getting into the big giant companies. Now let's talk about what is design. So one of the popular definition of design is that it is problem solving. So when you check in general about design, when you search online, what you get to see is uh, design is about problem solving. But it is not just about problem solving, it has various aspects to it. So design stand at the crossroad of science, commerce, and art. So Hamza, if you can talk about how this crossover happens and what is design.
So in a way, if you see, design has elements of science, commerce, and art. Why science? Because there is, in a way, a psychological understanding of the users. You have to understand how a user thinks. You have to have empathy. And why art? Because in the end, the users, the end users, they interact with a particular product. In today's time, the digital time, there is an interface or an application or a website where the end user interacts with. So there is an aesthetic element to it, an artistic element to it. So this design is an art. And in terms of commerce, yes, definitely design has a commercial element to it. So there is a monetization of the application or a particular product that you have built. So it actually combines all three.
Yes. So when you talk about art particularly, it is what you feel or it is how you want to showcase your art. But design has a different element to it, which is science and commerce also. So science take care part of the functionality or the usability, and commerce take part of the business side of it. And of course the art, how you use it easily, how you see the product aesthetically. So it is all combining, you see the design that is the end product, and user experience is the element which covers or sums up the overall experience. So let us talk about the learnings that we'll have in this session. So what we'll share is our experiences of taking the session. I mean, whatever we have experienced being in this field for like 3 or more than 3 years with the service industry and with the social uh, innovation, we can say, in that area. And what were the preconceived notions we had on UX design. So like, as I mean, some of you are from design background, some of may not be from design background, but when you hear the word UX, there are some preconceived notions about the UX design, that is this require coding, or what exactly experience design is, what they do in the company. So we'll talk about it, but this is what we'll learn, and how experience design as a subject influence our careers and help us grow. So these are the learnings from today's session. We will talk about it. So I mean, when we say experience as a whole, experience as an umbrella, we have just taken a non-technical example here of the Mela, if you have visited or if you definitely heard of. So when you visit Mela, there are so many attractions you see. And here the diagram, what you see here is these are the five senses. So just try to relate, what senses get triggered when you visit the Mela. I mean, you see the stall with lights, with you see the stall with smell, the food getting served. You touch the uh, things there which you can play with, the balloon and the gun and the various traditional things that they offer. And of course, you can have a food there. You can listen to the music and the noise or the sound from the instrument or the giant wheels that they have there. So this is uh, the result of what they have designed in a Mela. So
Yes.
in a way we experience. So Hamza, if you can focus on
Yes.
the experience part of it.
So for them, you are the end users. So they would try to attract you, not only you, like your five senses. So they would try to attract in the best possible way. So the fragrance of the food attracts your the smell part, the vision, like the display in the stalls. They try to attract you and bring to that stall by displaying the goods, displaying the toys, maybe whatever they are trying to sell. And by the ride, there is the overall experience of a thrill which they try to attract you with. And by calling or by speaking a name or by uh, singing a song or maybe just playing music, they try to attract your sense of hearing. So in
Yes.
the end, their purpose is that you visit them, you buy something or experience a particular thing, and pay money or appreciate what they want to sell.
Yes, exactly. And why we have taken this example is just now try to relate this with the application what you use. I mean, how they try to get your attention to purchase things. If it is a service also, let's take an Uber app. There are these things. So the button what you see for the purchase or to take a ride, it is highlighted. So what they have used is they have used the vision sense, how they can get your selective attention. Whether it is a Uber is a simple example, but if you take the mutual fund example, so there are some stocks and there are some ups and downs in the graph. But if they want you to look at the particular thing, they'll highlight it. Also, there are some offline examples. The FNCG product you see, they marketed or they market their product by writing some gimmick. So, for example, 0% sugar. They write it on big letters on the front of the box. But if you see the ingredients they have, those are the chemicals or other things also. The point here is how you can selectively collect the attention of the user and create an experience. So it is up to you. And the good and bad part is a different topic, but it is about the selective attention. So this is about the fair example. So this we talked about now. And Hamza, if you can focus on what is user experience design and
Yes.
how we can experience it everywhere.
Yes. So user experience design is in a way everywhere. So Don Norman, it definitely made the term famous, but it wasn't that the term or the part of creating an experience was not there before. It has been there since ages. Even if you see the Indus Valley civilization, they had this experience creation in the bathing area. So they had this option of hot water and cold water, so that the people who, even at that time, like 3000 or 2000 years ago, so the people who came to have the bath in that public bath, which is a very famous Indus Valley civilization design, they had an option for hot and cold water. The drainage system provided cleanliness in the entire city. So in a way, experience design is everywhere, even in a small thing like a toothpick. So if you've seen a toothpick, there is a ridge on top of it. So that ridge is there for a purpose. So once you use the toothpick, you break the upper part of it, and it is supposed to keep the toothpick on it so that it doesn't contaminate the table uh, post your toothpick usage. It's
Yes,
there, like even in the toothbrush that you use. So there is someone who has designed it thinking in mind a user group, and they have kept in mind the experience of that particular user group.
yes. So design, as we talked about, it is a study of how people use the product, how they behave, what is the cultural aspect attached to it, what is the preconceived notion or the biases that they have. So it is the study of cognitive and psychology, where you understand the user, and not only by these manner, you quantify it with the numbers that
Yes.
you have selected these many people. Out of these many people,
Yes.
we have found these, we have observed this, and then we come up with the insight. So this
So
is how user experience works. Yeah.
So another very good example I recall is that in some, like some rural India, basically some years ago, or like even some of the tools are even used now. So the tools basically that were supposed to be created for that context, in the rural context, for women to cook food, to grind the masalas or the spices, basically, और to basically churn the चक्की जिसे बोलते हैं हम, चक्की पीसने के लिए. So the men would normally would work in the fields, but these tools were created in such a way so that the women who are at home, they don't maybe become, they also get a way of working out or keeping active, basically. So these tools were designed in a way not only to help in cooking food, but also making keeping them active while the men worked in the fields.
Yes, that's a very appropriate example. And if you talk about Indus Valley and the older products that we still use after 1,000 or 2,000 years also, it has not at all changed. So they have created an experience there, and because of that experience, uh, it has not changed till date. Though technology has came and everything else, but the experience what you create, if you get the right insight, you can create that experience and it will last long forever. So that is the magic of user experience, and it is like Humza said, it is everywhere. So for example, mobile, the vehicle that you use, an experience part. So if we take vehicles, there is an aesthetics what we see and purchase the product mostly, but the engine, how it works, the overall user. So there are categories in vehicle. If you take the Rolls Royce and Porsche, that is premium. You get the premium experience for the back seat, for the front seat. But if you go on the mid level, there are this Honda City and other cars what you see, and variety of things. So the experience is provided, and the experience is given to the premium things here. But if you take the smaller examples, that why door handles in the car are designed in such a way that accidentally if you uh, if you touch the handle, it should not open. So these are small little things which kept in mind and designed for the masses. So we need to check for the experiences everywhere. I mean, in our daily life also, whatever we use, whatever product we use, we always keep an eye, or we always should keep an eye on the experience or the features what product and services provide. So this is about UX and its attachment to the other services. This is the example what
Yes,
Hamza
the
shared,
toothpick example.
the
Yeah.
toothpick example. Yeah, I mean, some of you may have heard, or there is a documentary called Objectified. You should watch it for sure. I mean, it's a very generic documentary, but it is about the objects what we use. So many of us, we didn't know that why this part is there. So if you see this image, that it should not. So we use the toothpick and it should not touch the ground. And I mean, nowadays we get the context in much better way as the COVID crisis is happening. Why it is being done here.
Yes.
So it makes a sense a lot here. So some of the experiences example, Hamza, if you can pull out the videos
Yes.
if you have.
Yes. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I like before I joined MIT and I finished my course. I was working as a copywriter, and like there are certain examples which I would like to share. So they are also experience design examples. In a way, there was a user group that they targeted. So I'll just share a very an example. Is my screen visible? Uh,
Yes, Hamza.
so I'll just share something which I have. So it's basically the case study is Dortmund concert milk. You can search it on Google, like you can Google it, or you can find it on YouTube. Uh, is this video visible?
Life isn't easy.
Is it
Yes,
Yeah.
Hamza.
visible?
Yes.
And can you hear it also? Okay.
Yeah.
Located between concrete buildings and kebab shops in the rural valley where hardly anyone is interested in classical music. But he found a way to make classical music attractive to all of these people. A basic food product with milk. Scientists have proven that cows produce more milk when they listen to classical music. So, we let the cows listen to the new season's artists. First, we held a live concert to give them time to become accustomed to this new situation. Then we exposed them to recordings of selected artists. The cows no longer produced ordinary milk. They made the taste of music. Sip by sip, artist by artist. In cooperation with selected specialty shops, we introduced Dortmund concert milk to the market. Every bottle provided additional information about the artist and the concert hall season. Concert milk tasted good, and not only to the people of Dortmund. Bloggers visited the cows on the farm and taste tested the milk. It became local and national news. With our milk, we attracted a whole new audience with no previous interest in classical music. And because of it, Dortmund Concert Hall had financially its most successful season of all time. The number of subscribers rose by more than 19%. The average house capacity rose to 72%, and this was well before the end of the season. A nice byproduct. The production costs of the milk are now at the break-even point, and concert milk sales are making a profit. Classical music has never tasted so delicious. Dortmund concert milk.
So if you see this example, so the product that they wanted to sell were concert tickets, and they understood the user group, and what they did was they did not create a application or a website. So user experience design, the output may not always be an application or a website or any digital thing. So their way of promoting it was selling milk and uh, uh, using musicians to go in the stable, sell like play the music to the cows. As per their statistics, they felt that uh, cows produce better milk when exposed to classical music. And then to market that milk, they definitely use digital means. And as you see that they managed not only to sell the concert tickets, but they also broke even in terms of the milk sales. uh,
Yes, and the beauty of it is if you just hear this idea that producing music in like enhances the taste of the milk, so it looks or it was very funny that how this is possible. But if you see the revenue that they have generated, it's amazing. And also there is a research back for that how it works and these things. But the beauty of user experience is how two very random things can get connect and how they can work out. So this is again, I mean, there are some techniques, there are brainstorming techniques, which if you learn more, you get exposed to that, how they work. But this is one of the example where music and cow milk it's related, and they found the relation, they have worked upon it, they found the insight that if we play the classical music, they produce good milk, and the way they market it. So it is all comes under experience umbrella. I mean, we get the milk every day, but we don't get this kind of milk. So there are some more examples which
yes,
we have.
I'll just share this. It's a very popular example. You might have already seen it. It's basically the fun theory. So again, if you see here, it is basically a problem statement of making users not use the escalator and use the stairs. And in a way, if they might have researched and found out this one of the ways to ensure that the user actually use the stairs. So they added this fun theory element and they found out the solution.
Yes. And
So
one of the
yeah.
yeah, Hamza, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the basic difference I found in, like, I worked in as a copywriter in advertising and in the user experience design process is that yes, you have to come up with an idea or a solution to a particular problem statement, but the timeline has a crunch in it, and it's only the ideation stage that you reach directly. So it's on your maybe previous experience or maybe certain knowledge or secondary research that you come up with an idea. In terms of user experience design, you luckily have to, like, you have these processes, these design methods that you follow. Once you get a problem statement, you have an option of secondary research and primary research, and then as per the method, they help you reaching that particular solution stage. So the solution, like I said, it may not necessarily be a digital solution. It can be a digital and as well as a physical solution, like in this case as well.
Yes, and if you take any problem, any wicked problem also, the most difficult thing in problem solving is behavior change. And uh, as you've seen in the last video, a behavior change occurred in just a few steps. So this is one of the wicked problem they have solved just by creating that experience. And if you like what we have shared, the Mela example, it had all the five senses, and it is the best example of user experience design when you visit Mela. Now, what we can just compare that to this video, that they have taken the vision and the sound. These two experiences they have enhanced in creating the solution, and it worked. I mean, more people started using the stair instead of the escalator. So this is how it can get triggered. I think Hamza can share one of the video of Ogilvy so that we can.
Oh yes, this is in a way again a fun theory. It's in a way how Ogilvy created awareness on basically awareness of people to quit smoking. So it's a very popular video again. Uh, how they did it. So I'll just play it. So here again, if you see, they try to create an experience for the people who smoke and try to ensure that they at least get awareness on quitting smoking, basically.
Yeah, and this is important. So why we have shown these outside examples is to understand the experience part of it. I mean, when we say user experience, we always see the screens and how we can use it screen by screen. What happened when you click this button. So It is not just related to this, but as a user experience designer, you need to look at these examples, these quirky things also, which may create that notion in your mind that you can use these services or product in that way, or you can bring the change in the behavior. So yeah, let's go ahead with the user experience design and industry. Now, in industry, what we see here is UX is the bigger umbrella, uh, which is in the middle, and there are three parts. Usually, it is divided in these three sections. So, first one is user experience research, then interaction design, and then visual design. So when you say UI, this visual design and interaction design covers that UI part. And when you say UX, it is the user experience research. It is the broader term. I mean, the detailed are inside it. There are various things which it covers, but overall, these are the part which the industry uses the experience. So user experience is used by the industry in these three manners. So if we go ahead, in the next slide, what we'll talk about the design and the region. So when we say experience, there are various products, various services which offer to the world, but those differs in the different areas and different culture. So Hamza, if you can share the Pohori culture and how it is came up and different, and what is the experience in that. So if you can throw light on that, we can understand the experience in region wise.
Yes. So the experiences basically differ from place to place, region from region. For example, if you like, I'll give some more examples before I come to the Bora culture also. So in terms of selecting a particular, like in India, in terms of house helper, uh, it is, there is a population, the more female population is employed as house helps, that is the maids. But in the western regions, it might not only be the female, there are the male concept also as house helpers. uh, and in terms of like the culture that I belong to, which is the Dawoodi Bohra culture. So it is uh, like mostly the world perceives the Muslim population as the people who wear the black, the ladies who wear the black burqa, and the men have a particular dressing style. But in Islam also there are various subcultures, and every culture is like somewhat different from the other. The base might be the same, but their culture, their food style, their way of praying, not exactly way of praying, but in a way of interacting is different. So in Dawoodi Bohra culture that I belong to, it we that they migrated from uh, Iraq, Iran to India, and because they came from there and they settled in Gujarat, just like the Parsis who came from Iran, there initially spoke Arabic, but then they changed to Gujarati. So at home we all speak Gujarati, especially the ones that who live in Gujarat and most of India. But there are the Dawoodi Bohras in Yemen who speak Arabic. So there is a difference in the same community, which there is in terms of language, in terms of attires. The headgear changes from region. So in India there is a particular headgear, but if you go to Yemen again, the headgear changes. In terms of food, just like India is diverse in terms of going from north to south and east to west, the Dawoodi Bohra culture also, the foods have adapted as per their surroundings. So the Gujarat Dawoodi Bohra would cook and have elements of the Gujarati food in their cooking. Just like in if you come to Maharashtra, there will be elements and popular dishes of the Maharashtrian cuisine in the Dawoodi Bohra cuisine. So you have to ensure that design, it cannot be a one fits all service. It changes context to context, region to region, person to person. So you have to keep all of that in mind while designing. So the user group, basically, you need to know your user group really well. So how do you know that? Yes, there is some statistics. There will be certain uh, knowledge or their information basically available, which is you can find through secondary research. But if you want to know in depth, then there is an of take a process of primary research, which will have certain methods where you can go to your users, talk to them, and understand them, and then take the results out, analyze it, and then come up with a solution.
Yes, that's the process what user experience designer should follow. So why we talked about design and region is before you come to the screens or before you develop an application, you need to know the region, you need to know the culture, you need to know how it is. So, for example, in Maharashtra, there are various areas. Those are different in food culture, those are different in their behavior or their appearance, what they wear, and similarly to every region. So, when you design, you should always consider these points so that a perfect fit product can be made. Of course, there is like no perfect product, but you can just go close to it. So there are so we'll move ahead to the designer biases. So we talked about the region, and because of that region or from where you belong, there are some biases. So we all have the biases toward various things. First, the family, then peers, then country, and which covers basically the region. And these are the biases that designer has. As a designer, also we tend to have the biases towards the work what we do. So in a way, uh, when you come up with something or when you work on something, you feel that is a very good result of whatever you have done. And if you try to compare it with others, you'll slightly like your idea or your thoughts, which you have come up with. So why
Right.
we are talking about this is, as a designer, we should not be biased. I mean, we always look at the facts and the stats. So that is the difference in art and design. So when you design things, you should not be biased. So whether it is ideations, whether it is a company, colors what you like. So just observe the thing that the emojis what you use in normal day, like WhatsApp chat or anything, that defines your personality. And also whatever you choose in terms of clothing or the products, there are some colors which you like and which you think that this is very good. But of course, this is a bias, and when you design, try avoid that biases what you have and try to look at the statistics,
Yes.
also the
So
perspective towards the thing.
yes, so
Yes,
these
okay.
are the general biases that would, in terms of the designer terms, there are more than 80 biases that have been mapped, and there are more technical terms. So if you search designer bias or you can search bias, you'll get a whole like a chart of the various biases that are there, where which one needs to avoid while designing anything. So I'll just share another case study that in a way speaks about bias, a bias about your own self. So it's a campaign by Dove. It's called the Real Beauty Sketches. I'll just play the video.
I'm a forensic artist. Worked for the San Jose Police Department in 1995 to 2011.
I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
What would be your most prominent feature?
Kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
So here we are. This is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
So yeah, that's. She looks closed off and fatter, sadder too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy. I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. Couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah. We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right. And we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
So this campaign basically was that you are more beautiful than you think. So they basically analyze that people tend to look at themselves and look at the mistakes, or basically in terms of physical appearances. But when they analyze it through a third person or an opposite person's perspective, they actually looked at the more the beauty element or the good part of it. So it's in a way like you looking at yourself with a certain bias where you look at the problem areas in terms of physical in this context.
Yeah, and I mean, when you design, you always keep in mind that there are so many biases that we have, and whether I'm having that bias or not. So that is a good check, and the and also to keep in mind that when you design for the masses. It is not that you design for 2 or 3 people or for yourself. So that becomes an art. When you design, just consider that you are making it for 3 or 4 lakh people. So also one of the examples is if you just check the all the government websites or what they do in terms of the usability and other things. So it is getting better and better day by day. But there are few things which I want to really highlight that when there is a uh, pause in IRCTC website, how many people get affected? I mean, millions and billions people get affected when there is a slight change in the website. So just check the impact what you do or what experience can create in a screen. So that is how it is measured and valued. So
Yeah.
we'll move to the next part. So this is one of the major queries that we all have, that does UX design require coding? And yes, it does. User experience designer needs, I mean, uh, yes, they should know the coding, but it is not necessary. So if it is okay if you don't know coding, we still deal about the experience part and the behavioral part of the experience what we create.
So coding is a good to know skill. Like if you know, you can, because in the end, in terms of the digital part of it, or working in a service design based company, you will have a team which is a mix of not only designers but also coders, and your design will in the end be coded and made into a product or an application, website, etc. So you need to convey your design to them, and the coding community, they understand certain things about design, and there are certain things they don't understand. So if you know some elements, not about doing the actual coding, but some terms that they use in terms of coding, it is a good to know thing where you will be able to convey your designs better, and you will see the final output as you have visioned it while creating the final user interface design.
Yes, and if you look at the Google company when they started, so their main focus was not at all coding. So their main focus was how we can create a search engine where people can search. So as simple as that. When you see Facebook, their motto was how we can connect people. And the coding came later, and of course we know these are big tech giants which are runs on coding. But coding is a way of putting things, and that gets converted into the overall experience. But as a designer, it is a good to have obviously a good to have knowledge that you know coding. But if you don't know, it doesn't matter also. So
Yes. So similarly, there are other various myths in terms of user experience design. Like what in the Indian context, which I have seen, like we keep getting job offers from various companies. So there are companies who mention it UI UX. So that is in a way not like it's like a lot of people in the film industry object to the term Bollywood, because Bollywood not an original term. It's just a lift off of Hollywood and converted to Bollywood because it was Bombay. Similarly, UI UX is a term which is not exactly correct in the context that UI does not come before UX. It's basically a part of UX. So UX is the bigger umbrella. UI is the last part of that umbrella where you design in terms of the end user, the surface layer basically. So UX is an umbrella which encompasses user experience research. In a way, it begins with user experience research and then it goes to interaction design, which is basically creating the information architecture and the wireframes. And once they are ready, there is a interface layer which is created, which will add color, the iconography, and the various other brand related uh, attributes. And it is then created into an application. So yes, UI UX is not a correct way of referring it. So it's UX as a broad umbrella, and there are various roles under it. But in the Indian context, if you see, it is referred in a popular way as UI UX, but ideally it should be UX design.
yes, and this is the myth what Hamza talked about. So, I mean, now we have talked about the other experiences, the outside experiences, what you feel, and we'll just talk about some of the digital experiences. So, one of the myth is user don't scroll. So, uh, if you're designing some page and if you have created a large data where there are so many images and the text content is there, so it is perceived that people will not check or they don't scroll. But if you see, if you observe your own behavior, scrolling is the one of the key points nowadays. If you see Instagram or Facebook on phone, it is about scrolling, and it is infinite scrolling basically. So there is no end to those application until unless you close it. So this is how they have designed. They have designed you to hook to the product, and they design in such a way that you keep scrolling. So this is the myth about digital experience.
Okay. Yes. So going further, you are like a user. So this again comes to the point of bias. So you like after a certain experience, you can in a way empathize with the users, but you can't think with as the user group entirely. So you can in a way think a part of how your user group thinks and behaves. That is through experience. But yes, even after that point, like I've seen people who are having 30 years of experience, they still would advocate user experience research because they can't. You can think like one or two people or maybe certain group, but when you're designing a product for a particular larger group, you can't think like every user because every user is different. They have their own opinion, they have their own lifestyle, and they have their way of doing things. So definitely you cannot think like your user every time or in every context. It may be one or two contexts which you might feel, "Okay, okay, I can predict how this particular user will behave in terms of using a product."
Yes, and also this is very important to know because as a designer or a experienced designer, particularly, there are some points where we think that this is an awesome idea. What I thought just this morning, whenever you think, but it is that you have come up with the idea, and it is not with the facts and stats. It may not turn good or it may turn good, we don't know, but it is just to know that you are not like your user. So user have different biases, user have different things in their mind, but you need to go by what user thinks or what they do in terms of their routine. Also, there are some ideas which may click and which may work, but you should always cross check with the statistics.
Yes. So, so design means looking good. That is again a myth. So design not only means looking good. Yes, the design definitely should look good. That is why you using an Instagram or a Facebook or a WhatsApp, because they in a way look good. But there is a functionality element to it. There is a cognitive element to it, which also needs to be in place along with the aesthetics, which is means it's looking good. Otherwise, it would be something like a statue. It looks good, but it does nothing.
Yes, and also the application what we use nowadays is the Zoom application. So they have raised a lot of money in last pandemic because of the functionality. So they didn't have any aesthetics or the animation when you click, or very extraordinary icons. If you see, their icons are just pretty much downloaded from. It looks like downloaded from a very first source, but the thing that they got success is because of their functionality. It is not like that it should not look good, but the functionality comes first when you design, and covered with the aesthetics, that is the surface part.
Yes. So another myth is that more choices you provide, it has higher satisfaction. So its choices are a good thing to provide in terms of certain context, but to provide like 100 choices, or it only confuses the user. So you need to be thorough about your research in terms of understanding the users, and only provide choices to the user that are relevant. And ideally, you should try to understand the user in such a way that you provide them the optimum choices which are available, and not confuse him with options which are irrelevant.
Yes, so if you have more choices, you'll get confused. If you have two choices and a selective attention, you're likely to use or choose that option. So this is again a myth. So if we check the this myth number 6, what says it? People read on the web. So again, this is a very common or a very popular myth that whatever you put on the slide, people will read. So if you just observed in the previous slide, whatever we have wrote, you may or may not have read all the things. You just try to listen but what we are saying or what we do, and this is the myth that is related to that only. If there are so much text on the screen, it is not likely to be read by the people. It is
Yes.
just the bigger text or the things what they need to highlight.
Yes. So, like, so another field that is emerging in user experience design is that the user experience content. So, there are a lot of companies that have got a content team now in place which does user experience content. So, which is providing concise content, to the point content, and smart content in a way, so that it captures the user and provides the information the user needs to go further in an application in terms of instructions, or to take the next best step.
Yes.
So another myth which we've tackled is that user experience design is a glorified graphic designer. So yes, so like we mentioned before, so UI is a part of UX. So, and a graphic designer can become a user interface designer. Yes, because the skills or the softwares used are similar. But in terms of the entire process of user experience design, a graphic designer will also need to know certain methods of user research, capturing user research, of doing secondary research, and then moving on to the primary research, and the various methods that are involved in capturing the primary user research, and then bringing the research on the table, analyzing it, and then going to the next step, which is interaction design, which is creating in the way the information architecture and the wireframes, and then their work which they currently do in terms of creating an amazing interface experience. So yes, it not exactly like graphic designers. There are skills that need to be learned before they can also call themselves a user experience designer.
Yes, and in today's context, if we see the vaccine distribution, so this is a, one of the wicked problem that we are facing right now. So as a user experience designer, you need to know, or are you able to solve this kind of problem? You need to ask this kind of question to yourself that can I check this issue? How I can solve the bigger or the wicked problem, like vaccine distribution, like corona, the crisis that we are having, the bed availability, how we can tackle that. So if you see, there are many applications which show you the bed number and whether it is available or not. But does it have a real experience? You need to ask yourself. And when you start thinking on these lines, you'll understand what is the difference between the UI and the experience. I mean, the user experience in overall situation. So when you want to book an ambulance, you'll not think about what button I'm clicking or if I click this, what will happen. You have always in your mind how I can get the ambulance in quick time. So that is the experience part, what user experience helps to create.
Yes. Another myth is that user experience design is very costly. So here again, it's a very contextual thing. It is the cost really depends on the various. There are various constraints that denote like or determine the cost or the size of the team, the size of the company, the client requirement. But in general, if you know the methods or the processes that follow. It is not costly. It's about using the methods correctly and coming up with a conclusion. So yes, there is an element of coding if it's a digital solution that you're providing. That definitely has the cost element or the maximum cost element attached is at that point, because it requires you to create a digital product which needs to be maintained till that or till the product lifetime. So yes, in a way, that part there is a cost element involved. But in terms of the user experience or collecting experiences, that is not a costly affair, and it really varies on context to context how you see it.
Yes, and a very famous saying or the thing uh, which is there in the UX design community is uh, if you think that UX is costly or the good design is costly, just look at the price of the bad designs. So if you see this, there are so many bad designs and a price tag. If you see, there is a lot that you can pay and purchase the bad designs. So as a designer, you need to look at these things.
Yes. So yeah, so the user experience method, like Ketan said, it helps you avoid these design disasters. In a way, that way it it saves more money than actually you spending. So it in a way reduces so some of the results of a good user experience design process in terms of service design is that it saves time. It saves so time in a way for service design is money. So if it's saving time in terms of doing certain tasks, certain processes for one employee. So imagine a company that employs thousands of employees. It will save that many hours of work. Saves that many hours of doing a task. It saves in terms of people who directly face customers. It saves time of that customer, and makes the customer happy, because now the problem which was taking half an hour due to a bad interface design or a bad product which the agent or the person who's at a call center, for example, interacting with that end user, now they are using this a good design to solve that problem in 5 minutes. Or maybe a good solution would be that the problem the person would not have to call the bank or a particular call center, because it has already been solved through the application provided. So user experience design is definitely helping save money. And that is actually one of the reasons why user experience designers are employed, or the processes are accepted or taken forward before the actual coding takes place, so that they tend to like show the metrics of how it will help in reducing the various cost factors or the time factors involved.
Yes, and that sums up the myth that UX design is not costly. In a way, it is helpful to the end user.
Yes. So just like Ketan said, that bad UX costs a lot more than uh, not doing UX basically. So bad UX products, we have some examples of bad user experience design case studies. So there one of a very popular case study is the Hawaii missile experience. Hawaii missile basically, if you type it on Google, there was a warning triggered to a particular island in Hawaii that a missile would be tested, and there were people who were actually living there. But then it was actually everybody came to know that it was just a signal which was triggered. It was not a warning, and it was just a test signal, but the interface was so bad so that the human error happened. So the person who might be working there, he was actually subjected to this kind of interface. So if you see pack up, this was the button he triggered, and it was actually the he had to click on drill pacom, which is just a drill, basically a mock drill, like we have these mock fire drills. So that is how it made this interface basically made him trigger this false alarm that there is a missile that is going to be launched, which creating panic for at least some hours in that zone. So like similar to this, there are other bad UX examples. Uh, like this is a product example. So if you see the years of the money, if you drink it from one side, it might pierce your eyes.
And if you see the aesthetics of it, it looks really nice when on the shelf, and also when you see the other part which is decorated. But the usability, if you see in the next picture, is just hampering the experience or the
Yes.
way you use it.
So yes, so certain products like you might use, they might look good, but they are not functional, or they don't actually help you completing the desired task. So another bad example is this lift design. It's got totally confused with the buttons and the floors intended. So ideally, one would take you to the first floor, but ground takes you to the first floor. One takes you to the second and third floor, and so on. So it definitely would confuse anybody who's taking it forward. Even if you not take this lift design, the very popular, we all have made this mistake while opening and closing doors. Uh, of the lift, there is this triangle thing. Uh, so we all have confused that which one to press. At times we press, at least once in our lifetime, we might have pressed the wrong button, which actually denotes opening, and we actually did press the closing button or the close button. Similar to the push and pull. So definitely in terms of opening and closing doors, we have tried to push where it's written pull, because the first two letters uh, trigger in our brain that it's PU basically, and then it's PSH or PUSH or PULL. So we have made a mistake at that point, and because also they look the same. So another bad UX example would be this form filling, where you have to select a number for every every digit of your phone number. So imagine having multiple numbers to enter. It would be a headache and a pain for anybody using this interface. Again, this was intended for a user who is in a way physically disabled to cross the road, but they've actually built a, 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 a you can say footpath on this road crossing area. So it's so this is again also covers the area of accessibility in terms of design. So that is something which you need to learn. It's a very huge topic. It's a topic, and there are corporates which are actually embracing this topic in terms of every aspect in design. So in terms of digital experiences, a lot is considered at times of designing for people with visual impairments. So there are certain colors with people who are suffering from various visual impairments like color blindness. So it's taken care of while designing, and they test it with the end users and also with the various softwares available, so that it does not hinder the experience for the people who are colorblind if they are part of the user group. So it's basically making it inclusive design.
Yes, and if you see this diagram, the user experience part of it, what makes product valuable. So these are the six hexagons what you see: the usefulness of it, the desirability of it, accessibility of the product, credibility of the product, findability of the product, and usability of the product. So whenever you design, you just keep in mind these things, that if I'm designing, I should not be creating a product which is not accessible, which is not findable, or which is not usable, and these parts also. So if you see the desirability, uh, in again in terms of vehicles, the Porsche, Rolls Royce, or the very high-end brands, they create the desirability. For that matter, Apple and other premium products. So it is not that they are doing some extraordinary thing, or the cars that fly. No, the cars runs on the road, or in Apple also you can do anything with other phones can do. But the matter here is of desirability. How company create the desirability in their product by creating videos, advertisements, marketing, and the other things which may come under the user experience part. So this part. Hamza, if we can
Yes.
talk about the usability, or
Yes. So, so again, similarly, it is so your product basically needs to be useful. It needs to be usable. In terms of usefulness, a statue at a home is useful in a way. It adds to the aesthetic value of your home, any decorative item in a way. But is that thing usable? No, it's not usable. You can't use it for anything except to maybe you can use it as paperweight if you want a giant paperweight. But in terms of usable, so your product should not only be useful, it should also be usable. So there are various examples. One of the most popular one was created by it's also basically a lemon squeezer, which was actually created for the purpose of initiating conversations. So that was a very popular example. So it would actually react to the lemon, and the color of the product would change. So that lemon squeezer was actually not a not a usable product. It was just a useful product in terms of initiating conversations. So you need to ensure that your product is not only useful but usable. It would have the trait so that when a user opens it, they find it good looking and attractive, but it will also help in completing their task. In terms of findability, it the information that you're intending to find in that particular product, it needs to be categorized well so that you can easily find it. Just take a newspaper. uh, if all the information was put on the first page and so on, it would be very difficult for you to find, but they've categorized it really well. There is a sports column. You can move directly if you are a sports lover. There is an entertainment section where you can move if you only want to read entertainment news, and there is certainly general news which is there in terms of the headline page.
and
In, yeah,
also in findability, if you search the digital products on the YouTube, just type the words that features in Chrome or features in Google Map. You'll find so many other features which you have not at all used. In like you use it daily, but there are some features you might not know about. So here the findability thing worked. So if you have seen in Instagram, they whenever they launch the new feature or new thing, they labeled it as new so that you can find it. So
yes,
this way you can create the findability.
yes. And again, credibility comes with the fact, like if you take any banking apps today, you are now putting the responsibility of your money to that application. So you trust them. So they have created the trust factor within you. So that product is credible. And in terms of accessibility, it is available to you when you want it. And taking the other aspect of accessibility is that it is accessible to the various types of users, maybe with a little visual impairment, or maybe with certain issues, but they can still access it and use it. So there is this voice button enabled so that you can, if you can't type, you can voice your like you can text to speech or voice to text button which is there. So all of these, if it is there in your product, the product becomes valuable. So ideally, these are the basic principles of making a good UX. So if you ensure that all of these elements are there, the product becomes valuable.
Yes. And let's talk about the roles of a UX designer now. I mean, what kind of design roles are there in the industry? So if you see, there are like four major roles: user research, and what we call as user researcher, interaction design, information design, interaction designer. Interface design is UI designer, and user experience content writer is UX content writer.
Yes.
So these are the roles in what you can fit based on your interest. So if you like to design UI, or if you are good in visuals, interface design what you can go for. And obviously that will contain the interaction design part, how the screen flow and how you can quick prototype things. But if you are more into the research part or the analytics part, you should go for the user researcher or user research.
Yes, and if you are good at writing and if you feel that this is what you want to get into, so you can do the user experience content writer part. But not in the Indian context, not many companies have a specialized user experience content writing department. But yes, certain corporates and MNCs have started with a separate content division for user experience design. And these all of these roles are in the Indian context. But if you go in the Western countries, there are certain more roles added. Like in there is a specialist user architect, interface architect role, like which basically create the information architecture. So these are the roles which are there. But in India,
Yes.
they are normally performed by the information designer or the interaction designer. At times, even a visual designer may have to create a information architecture and also do the interface design. But in terms of classifying the roles in India, majority is user research and interaction design and interface design.
Yes, and if we see the next slide, we'll just talk about in what area you can work on. So depends upon, of course, where you apply. So there are some product companies would probably have all these roles, and you may be performing all these roles. There are startups would require you to perform multiple roles at a time. And for example, what Hamza was saying, that there are different roles. So in Scandinavian, so European and American countries, there is a UX role just for writing the error messages. So if you check what is the importance of that, that creates a huge impact. So there are just people to write error messages, and which comes under the content writing or the UX writing. Then there are design studios would require of again a mixed role where you can creating the screens as well as understanding the behavior of the people also. There are service design companies like TCS, Infosys, what we are working now. So they wouldn't segregate between the roles, but then you can choose your path once you are on board. So I mean, you'll
Yes.
get hired, but based on your interest, you can communicate with your managers that this is what I
Yes.
can help with and how it works in the service design.
So
So
we have a mix of people in terms of. So there are even animators which are there. So there is another role. Uh, so uh, so they employ even animators because animation is required in a post interface design. So in terms of the logo animation, the splash animation that we call it, and in terms of the various interaction animations, and even in terms of animation while presenting a particular interface to the client, and then post creation of the entire product, there is an animation film which is created or a film basically which has animation in it to then make a case study out of the entire process that you have made. So animators are also required. In the same way, there are illustrators which are hired. So these illustration skills are used in the various part of the application to enhance the visual interface. So there is a visual interface designer who is making the icons, and there is a illustration person who's actually creating illustrations for the slider screens, for the cover screens, and if there is a requirement, they actually create the specialized icons for that particular application.
yes, and uh, again, I mean, if we talk about and summarize the earlier part, what we have talked about. So the first thing is depends on where you apply. And when it comes to user experience, you can relate this answer which I'm talking to everything. So the answer is it depends. So when you say when you answer it depends, it covers basically the user experience part of it. So for example, whether I'll be able to make screens. So the answer is it depends. So you can apply it to basically anywhere uh, that covers the user experience part.
Yes. So if you want to have your own startup post your particular knowledge taking a degree, then it would be a good to like you would want to know all these skills. So you would ideally would should choose a startup to work in where you get to perform multiple roles or all the roles, so that you get a hang of it and you can implement those learnings in your startup. If you want to specialize basically, so then you choose a pathway of which area you want to specialize it, and ensure that the work you take in the corporate world or in any company is a specialized thing of focusing on one of the aspects of under user experience design. So yes,
Yes.
like Ketan said, it really depends on what you want to do as a learner and as a how you want to see yourself in the future. So
Okay. So this is the last part what we talk about. So we have learned about the basics of user experience design, offline, online, on screen, off screen, and this is the very important things which Hamza will throw light on.
yes, so it's in a way, if you have to take digital experiences, there are, like everybody knows that there are billions of websites, and there are millions of apps in the iStore or the Android store, and all of them definitely are aiming to capture this user group which they target, and they can only capture them through a good user experience. And in terms of if you have used LinkedIn, so user experience design was one of the top skills on LinkedIn in 2020 in terms of hiring. So the hiring managers were basically searching for user experience design on LinkedIn in 2020. So this is how popular this particular field is getting gradually in
Yes.
India and abroad.
And even if you want to track this, you can just track the way you have consumed the movies through the ages. So there were VCRs, CD players, then there were like theaters, and now it's on your phone. So there are movies coming on the OTT. So just track the timeline that what is being changed, and if you observe, there are so many screens and so many personalization things happening, and this all
Yes.
comes under the user experience.
And it's increasing day by day. Like it's come to your watch as well. What in the future it might be a necklace, it might be a headband. Google tried with Google Glass, but they couldn't succeed. But it might go there again. So uh, so it the screens in a way keep increasing, and the adoption of the screens are also increasing day by day, and all of them definitely need a good user experience. Otherwise the users would not use it. So yes, the demand would always be there. Would be always a demand for a user experience designer till uh, digital or physical product experiences are there, which will be basically forever.
Yes, and just to counter to, I mean, the screen area, what we as a humans, what we discuss is there are like more screen times, and it is hazardous for children. So if you have that kind of mindset where you don't want to do this, there is a researcher field where you can research on these topics, that how screen affects, and there is a whole term called digital well-being. So a lot of applications use this for their marketing also, and for digital actual well-being. So these
Yes,
are there, these areas also, and these also comes under UX. So it
yes,
really depends on what kind of personality you have and you want to
yes.
work in.
So a simple example here is that the Candy Crush game, or if you played Shadow Fighter. So after you keep playing it for some hours, there is a particular time frame to get a points or certain things. So it pauses your addiction in a way. Now, not all intend it to pause the addiction. At times, it's for marketing, or at times to sell those coins which are basically through the Play Store. They want you to pay, but some of them are actually aiming it so that you don't get addicted and keep playing the game for 24 hours. So they have intently kept it in the game itself that okay, after 1 hour of play, there will be a pause area where you need to either purchase something through money or you need to just take that 15-minute break or 20-minute break.
Yes. So, I mean, to sum up, this is what introduction to UX session covered: the digital part, the physical part, and the demand of UX professionals in the industry. So, here's the end of the session. And if you guys have any doubts, you can just have that session where you can ask questions or doubts or anything.
You can unmute and ask if it's like.
Yes, you can unmute or you can just write it in chats. However, we have a question from Himani. So, what she's asking, can I pursue UX design after a degree in interior design and how it will help? So, of course, you can pursue UX design, and it is actually helpful if you are an interior designer because you know the user and the study what you have done. It is similar to that, but it will have the more aspects. So definitely you can go for the degree
Yes,
or the masters if you want to.
yes. So, in terms of interiors, like you will already be studying certain methods while doing the interior design process because the design methods are not exclusive to user experience design. There are certain methods that are actually there in the various fields in design. So, there will be certain methods you might already know in terms of interior design, but there will be other methods as well which you will be learning. There will be a technological aspect which you will be learning. So if you see the interiors or in a way everything around is getting more tech smarter or digitally enabled. So all those technical lightings which is there, which works on voice commands, the air conditions which work on voice commands, uh, the various remote enabled mechanisms that are there in curtains or in the various tables that you have in your house, they also work or move as per mechanics or certain technology involved or certain sensors involved where you enter the house and you have a particular mood and it identifies it through the application and the lightings are in a way uh, they open as per your mood, the music plays as per the mood that you have. So all of them it is in a way coming even to interior design as well. So it's
Yes,
elevating the experience. So if you have this knowledge basically it will elevate your knowledge as an interior designer and it will help you create a next level experience for creating better interior design solutions for the end users.
yes, and if you see the Google Home, which is a complete different sector, with only focuses on the home applications, so home usage, and that covers the interior part. And uh, you can just look at it that way. And also the skills what you have as a interior designer, you can add value by learning the user experience design. And it is not only the interior design, the engineers or from the commerce background, if you are from science background or anything what you are doing, you need to just keep in mind
Yes,
that as a designer what you should avoid, or as a designer how you can avoid your biases, or how you can come up with the any
yes,
new design based on the obviously the feedback or the insights. So
yes.
yes, of
So
course.
if your question was that is there a criteria of you doing a user experience design master's program, I don't think so. There is a criteria. I think it is open to the various graduates. I think who can pursue it. So I was a BCom graduate which pursued a master's degree in user experience design from MIT Institute of Design. I had Ketan with me, who is actually an engineer who pursued the same degree. And there were other people as well, like Vishal, we had in our master's program, who was uh, he was a what do you call
The
leather? He was
graphic,
a
yeah, leather.
leather fashion designer in a way. You can say fashion designer, merchandise designer. You're actually a merchandise designer. So we had people from various backgrounds coming together. So that is actually the beauty of design. You get the best solutions when you work with a diverse set of people. So even when you go in the corporate world, I had people from diverse backgrounds working, and that actually brought in solutions or aspects or perspectives while doing design or while providing a solution to a product, which was very varied and very diverse.
Yeah. So Zen asking, are there any online courses? Uh, yeah, so there is a online courses from MIT as well, which they provide on UX design. So it's a 9-month course, and you can learn about the basics and also some of the advanced part of the user experience design. And you can just search online. There are many courses, but uh, the MIT, which we know we learn from, so they are also conducting one such course. Yeah, you can. So if anyone has doubts or anything to ask, they can just write in chat, and we can discuss that part. Yes, thank you so much, Shimani. If we have answered your question. So Harshit sir just posted the link where it is just to inform you about the course what they provide. If Harshit sir can.
Yeah. Hi guys, good afternoon. I hope you all had a good session, and now since you have understood the basics of UX, I'm sure if you are interested to pursue this interest further, there are multiple ways in which you can do, and those who are interested to know more, you can always reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you with further details also. But this specific course which Ketan mentioned, so it's a 9-month course that we offer currently, and it's it's for anybody. Means if you are a starter or if you are just wanting to enter into the UX industry, then also this course can help you. If you have already studied design and any kind of design, right? I see some of you are from interiors and other related backgrounds. I think you can surely benefit from that course, and it is quite flexible in that sense. So if you are studying something or if you are working somewhere and if you still want to pursue UX, then you can do it in parallel, because the sessions happen on Saturday for 3 hours, and for the remaining week it is up to you how do you self study, and there are other resources and other projects that we assign. So you can anyway, those who are interested, you can just write to us, and I can help you with further details.
Yes, so we have a link here
Yeah.
in the chat. You can just surf and get information. You can contact, get to know more about it. So we have a question from Sonia. So SCI certification is necessary for US career. Uh, so I mean, if you are asking directly that SCI certification, so it is not, but it is good to have. So no, it is not required. I mean, a person from commerce background also can come to UX and they can start learning about US. But SCI, the human computer interaction, it is a good to have knowledge. If you can do that
Yes.
or you can study about that, that's
Yes.
a good
So,
career path.
so basically, that is a certificate which you get. It's a program they are offering. So it's just the certificate that you are getting posted. But like I don't have an HCI certificate, so it's not a necessary.
See, as I think, just to add on what Ketan and Hamza said, and for everybody who has this notion of certification being necessary, so in any discipline of design, I think finally the work matters. Means you need to have those requisite mindset, that requisite skill set, and you should be able to follow a design process. Okay, so as long that is there, you can always be a good designer and you can make a good career. However, because the industry trends keep changing, there are new things which keep getting introduced. So it's always good to keep ourselves updated, even on the basics, and even if any of these new certifications or courses that you may come across. But none of this is mandatory. Finally, it's a design profession, so the one who has the right skills and who can solve the problems in a creative way is the one who can make a good career. So in that sense, the sky is the limit. So nothing should essentially stop you from doing that. All of these are add-ons. So they are all good to have, but not must-haves. Hope that helps.
Yes. So what Harshit said that it is the result matters if you are the designer, and that you can show it in portfolio. That matters when it
Yes.
comes to design. And it is good if you don't have knowledge, because one of the initial thing in design is to unlearn. So that is the best part of design. You unlearn what you have learned before. So that is the first thing we learn as a designer when we start.
This is the favorite question, I think. There is
Yes.
somehow there is this whole connection with coding that has got into the UX vocabulary. So again, I would equate it on the same lines, that a good understanding of coding, a good understanding of the development process in whatever way, is good to have. Means if you know how coding is done, it will surely help you. But again, it is not mandatory. Means at the end, it is a design thinking and a design process which matters in UX. See, it's like, if I take your interior design kind of a parallel, so there is a designer and then there is a contractor who executes it. So the more well versed you are with the execution process, the tricks of the trade and the techniques that the finally the one who executes your design, um, the it's more better for you, right? Because then you can keep that in mind when you are designing. So the classic debate in any design profession is that, okay, the designer has a particular vision, but the people who execute it will always have constraints कि हाँ ये हो सकता है, ये नहीं हो सकता है, ये cost में नहीं बैठेगा, ये time में नहीं बैठेगा. So things like this, they are applicable here as well. So if you know those constraints, if you know that technicalities of coding in whatever way, it helps you make a better designer. But as a designer, are you supposed to code? The answer is no. Um, However, because we are living in a world which is very, very technology dominated, technology oriented, it always helps to understand the basics of coding in whatever way it helps you. So that's how
Yes.
I'd answer
And just continuing on, just echoing to what Harshit sir said, that as we work on TCS and Infosys, so service design companies, so they, in a way, what they provide is the digital services. And if we know the coding, then we can deal better with the coders. Whatever design we make, we can communicate with them that you can perform in this way or this other. But Hamza and I, we don't know coding, but we learn from them as well, that how this works, what kind of software they are used, because that is also keep developing. So this is how it helps.
Yeah, and taking it further, like design is a continuous process. So it's a lifelong learning process. So there is no point where, like in any point of your career or life, you can say that you learned everything in design. It's always there is something more to learn. So there is something there. So you need to start somewhere, and then even when you take up a job, even when you teach, even when you become a principal, or even when you own a company, there will be still certain elements you need to learn. So there is a lifelong learning process.
Yes, and we have a question from Vidya. She's asking that how was our experience at MIT? So, I mean, it was amazing experience. We learned a lot, and we came from different background. As Hamza just explained, he was from commerce, I was from engineering, and there were other batchmates who were from various other, uh,
Yes,
yeah,
and not only from various fields. I think they are from different places in India. So there are people from the south, there are people from the north, that's from even from Kolkata, that is east, and from our state itself, Ketan, and I'm from Maharashtra. So it was a diverse set of people coming together learning design, so that actually helped us a lot in terms of knowing various cultures, and we still knowing the various cultures. So whenever we get to visit each other's home, we get to know how they have in terms of their culture and traditions, and it really in a way indirectly impacts the design quality. And then in terms of learning also, we had amazing I think experience in terms of the professors that were there. They taught us the processes. So for me as an advertising person, it was like copywriting. In you get a brief, and you have like 5 hours or less than that at times, and you have to come up with a solution. So I had this bias that okay, there is a brief and you get to a solution. But when I joined the college, I came to know that there is a process also which can be followed, and the solution that comes out after you follow the process is at times even better. For me, that was a great learning experience, that there is a process that helps you in ideation. There is a user research or a user part where you go to the users, you get information from them, you collect the data, you analyze it, and then you reach the ideation stage.
yes, and also, so
So for
Hamza,
me,
there
that
is
was a great learning.
yeah, so Hamza, there is a sub question also which says that what they should include in their portfolio.
Oh, okay. So, in like portfolio, in the sense, I think when you start doing a program, you will be learning various aspects of design, the process, basically the design process, as well as the interface element. So it should include all of your learnings. So one very important aspect of learning any design is that you document whatever you do. You document it thoroughly well, and then if you have time, you also beautify that document. So that document will include right from the basics to the advanced or the completion of the course, and that would be your portfolio. So
Yeah, and so whatever you have done and what you think is a solution in your mind, and what it reflects how you think. So whatever you have. So basically, you can have movie list also that you have watched this movies and this is how it impacted my life, and this is how it impacted that's how I think. So whatever work you have done, which can be converted into the storyline, that this is the kind of work I like. This is the solution part which I think, and how I can be a better designer. So in
yes,
these three sectors, how you can divide your work, and you have to create a storyline, and you can add anything what you'll feel that this is good to show for a design skills. So anything what you have, but just make sure that uh, this is worth storytelling, or this is worth to become a designer.
yes. So you present it in such a format that it tells a story of your journey of learning user experience design, of of even the times you come before joining the course. So you will have definitely done a lot till now, but you maybe not documented it. But if you start documenting it right from the any small project, even in the school that you've done the craft project, there will be an end product to your basic journey, or the craft which you've created, even a paper board. But there will be a steps to document it, like once you reach. So you now once you start the course, you start documenting everything, and then finally present that documentation with your learnings, with the various problems that you have solved during the course period, and that in a way becomes a portfolio. So it's not like a portfolio you create after you complete the course. The portfolio actually becomes or begins at the time you take the course. So that is actually your portfolio. your learnings, your everyday learnings become a portfolio. So at the end of the course, you will have a lot. In fact, you'll have to cut down on things that you want to showcase in the end. So that is how it should ideally work.
We
Yes.
have one more question from Zen. He's asking which software should a beginner start with? Adobe, XD, or Figma?
Can I quickly add here? One is a beginner shouldn't start with the software.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
softwares are tools. Softwares are your medium to achieve a solution. So it should always start with the user. It should always start with research. It should always start with a problem solving or a opportunity mapping kind of a mindset. Then obviously tool is important because you need to get things done, but don't fall into this trap that if I learn Adobe XD or if I know Figma then I am a UX designer. Please don't get into this trap. Softwares will keep changing. आज Adobe है, आज Figma है, कल दूसरा कुछ आएगा. So you'll have to keep yourself updated on
Yes.
whatever is the new tool. So you cannot start with a software. As a beginner, I think you should develop your design thinking. You should develop your design sensibilities. You should develop your user-centered design focus. And softwares are then the easy part. You can self-learn also. There is no major need of doing. Once you know one of the softwares, you can easily learn the other ones. So please don't get into that trap. Uh, yeah, Hamza, Ketan, please add. I
Yeah,
hope.
Yes.
yeah. Yes, of course. I mean, software. So there are many softwares which are keep coming, and Figma was not there when we joined the course. So it is just a tool to convert the idea that you have, and as far as you are able to convert it, it is, I mean, of
Yes.
course, a good thing. But
So
these
yes.
softwares will keep coming, and these are the tools where you can communicate your ideas. But
So yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
Hamza.
like in terms of my experience, like I've like 3 years in terms of doing user experience research. I don't use any software. I don't know the software, any software actually, because the software is not part of user experience research process. It's the process that are going thorough in the process or learning the process thoroughly and applying it or applying the various design methods that are available. So that does not require any software. It's just your mind and how you approach the user and get information and analyze it. So all of them, uh, even science, if you go to like in terms of the broader aspect, even like the modern science is trying to make softwares that can analyze users, but they cannot match the human brain in terms of qualitative analysis. They might be able to do quantitative analysis in terms of statistics, etc. बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ मुझे मैकडोनल्ड्स का बर्गर पसंद है पर क्यों पसंद है नो सॉफ्टवेयर कैन मैप दैट आउट क्वालिटेटिव जो डेटा होता है कि क्यों पसंद है ऐसा क्यों किया कब किया कैसे किया तो वो चीज इन और कंटेक्स्ट the things that come under context that is very difficult to map and it's only a human mind which has understood the design processes well can do it. So there are no software involved in whatever I do on daily basis. There is nothing like.
Yeah, and we have a question from Saifuddin. So it says, can we consider software to be a part of UI and not UX? So see, it's a part of. So as we said, UX is the umbrella, and whatever comes under it is a part of UX design. So UI and the softwares you use, it also comes under UX design. So Miro and Mural, these are two softwares, but again, these are tools. But you can categorize your data by using the Miro templates. So again, it is
Yes.
helping you, it is pushing your thoughts, and it is uh, the tools are a representative of your thinking and creativity. Creativity cannot come from tools. Creativity is in you and what you think and how you come up with the design. So that is the main part. Tools and the categorization and the so of
Yes.
course it is important, and it is like when you'll start using it, you'll automatically learn that because these companies also use user experience only to create these softwares. So if you see Figma, it is a good version because they have added the experience into it. In I mean the Adobe XD also, they have also added the experience part, so that people were earlier using the Photoshop to make screens, but now there is a dedicated software. So you need to think in a broader picture when you think of user experience. And so Vidya was just asking that uh, she has added the graphic design and the engineering B project stuff. So yeah, I mean, as far as you are uh, confident about your work, and also the storyline, that how you learned and how you made the or look at the solution, it is enough. It is not that you should be perfect in that, but you should be able to communicate what you have done and how it is inclined towards design. And of course, your interest you can showcase, your work you can showcase. And also, like the documentary, if you have seen, or the TV shows or anything, the podcast also, if you listen to, you can talk about that. We have a very interesting question from Madiha, that how should one review or criticize his own process or research? So there is a dedicated field called usability testing. Uh, this
Yes.
is, you can just Google it, what usability testing means, and there are various methods that you can test your ideas or whatever you have created. So for software, the applications, we have one usability testing called thinking aloud. So what it does is, when you use the software, you think how you are using it. For example, I'm clicking on background, now I'm going to this thing, now I'm clicking on this slide. So you think aloud when you use the software, and you give it to
Yes.
other, of course, other people to use it, and tell them to think aloud. And whenever they'll say, you note it down, and everything you note down, from their pauses, their expression also you can observe. So this is one method, thinking
Yes.
aloud method. There are various methods, NASA TLS. And Hamza, if you can share more.
Yeah, so there are so in this, like, to there are multiple user testing methods which is a part of the user experience design process. So the design process does not end with the design thinking is over or till the interface. It's also post that. So once the product is created, a user experience researcher, or at times the team comes there and they test the products in the market. So the testing is done at times at the wireframe level, before the visual design basically, and even after the visual design. So there is a user testing element done. So Ketan spoke about one of the methods. There are multiple methods which you can know once you learn the entire process, and all these methods help you in uh, taking information from the user in terms of their aspects or their opinion, because that is your user group, of how you can make the product better, what are the mistakes that are still there in the product, and how they can be rectified. So before the product is actually launched, it is a very crucial element, the user testing the implementing of the user testing methods. So that will help you in taking over your biases which you have created. Maybe ideally, when you do the process or you learn the design process, you will also learn in a way. So that is something which will be learned at the back of your mind, where you try to avoid your biases. But even at times, it's a very difficult thing to do. So you have your some of your biases might go in the final product as well. So that is where this user testing methods help you. So they will tell you, okay, this was something which you had thought and it was your bias, but the user are saying something else. And now you need to take the user's opinion first, then your opinion, and go on or continue with the product. So it helps you rectifying your
Yes.
biases if you have your biases. Ideally, once you know the process, design process, you will learn one thing is that to avoid biases.
Yes, and in user experience design, in the process, we have something called scenarios building. So what we do is, we create this multiple scenarios of your product or service, or whatever you like. What you have asked is the research process. So there is a method called before after testing. So what you can do is, whenever you come up with an idea or the research insights, you can test that if my idea is not there, how this service will work. And now, if you have your idea, how this service or the product will work. So you can check that before after testing, and it is also called A/B testing. So A, you check without your idea, B, you check with your idea, and see the difference. And with this, you can add feature. You can think about more that where my idea is lacking or how I can go forward. Completed. No, so if you have, yeah, someone was talking. Yeah, please go ahead.
Do we have any more questions? We have a question.
Yeah, so then to answer your question, yes, they can design product. There is a stream called product design, and it again has the user experience part as a umbrella. What we are talking about, I mean, user experience is an umbrella. So product design and UX design, the fields, what were the branches, the graphic design, so everything comes under that. So of course, uh, any product, the physical product, if you're talking, yes, you can uh, design that as well. But in India, uh, we don't have that privilege. So it is in India, we have more of a service sector, service companies that is getting emerging. But of course, you can design product as well, and there are some good design products, especially in FMCG market.
But in terms of dedicated courses for product design, like when we were studying, we had our friends in product design also who studied product design in depth. So there is it's a it's a field which is offered as a course in MIT as well, a product design, where so all of design in a way connects with each other. So there will be certain elements of user experience design even in the product design course that you do. There will be elements like in the final output. Uh, it might be a product requirement. So then, as user experience designers, we tend to connect with the product design department who can design a physical product. And if you're talking about physical products, and so to execute it. So if you say in a way, there is a specialized field of product design as well, which creates physical products, and there is an element of digital also attached to it, which in a way connects with user experience design.
Yes. So do we have more questions or any doubts on the slides, what you see? We can take that. No one asking about salary, so they can.
I think when it comes to a design related jobs, I don't think many of them have a question because they have an idea what they're going to get.
Yeah, yeah.
But still, if you can, if now that you're talking about it, we would like to hear it from you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, of course, I mean, when you get into the any field, the most important thing is like what money you'll get. So, yes, of course, you're lucky if you come to the UX design because, again, if you see the LinkedIn and other part, so there's a huge amount of money which is being invested in the design field, and uh, the companies like TCS, Infosys, so it starts with 8 to 10 lakh package. So that is the LPA what they get. There are design studios, and there are some big giant companies with Microsoft and Google. So they also hire, and they also be in a part of MIT. So their package is huge. It can go to 16 lakh to 20 lakhs to 22 lakhs starting. I mean, when you start as a fresher, there are Myntra, Flipkart, companies like this which offer a good salary. So yes, there are opportunities and there are good amount of money which is being offered by the companies in design departments. And as you move ahead, so as we work in service industry, so there are roles. So we join as a experienced designer, then we handle the team, so we become the manager, and then we can become the principal. So this is how it works in service design. But it depends. I mean, in which service design you work or which field, and which studio you work. So it all depends, but there's a good starting salary to this course. Yeah, so I think we can wrap up this if time allows us. So yes, thank you
Yeah,
so much, everyone. And yeah, I mean, if they have any doubts, they can write to us, and we can have one session or something like this. So yeah,
thank you, Ketan. Thank you, Hamza, for this amazing session. It was very informative. And thank you, Harshit sir, for making all this happen. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And I'm dropping a feedback link, which I've dropped earlier, but I'll drop it again. Hope I get to hear from you all. Thank you.
thank you so much.